I never planned to talk about this, because saying it out loud makes it feel real again. My name does not matter. What matters is what happened inside my school in the north of England, a place that still exists, even if people pretend nothing was ever wrong there. Ashcroft Secondary looked ordinary during the day. Old red bricks, narrow hallways, lockers that slammed too loudly, teachers who complained about budget cuts and heating. But once the sun went down, the building changed. Sounds traveled differently, corners felt deeper, silence pressed against your ears. I was 16 when I stayed late for detention. Winter evenings came early, and by the time I stepped into the corridor, the school was empty. My phone showed no signal. The lights above flickered, one by one, as I walked, like they were waking up just for me. Near the science block, I heard a noise that made my stomach tighten. A chair scraping slowly across the floor, not dragged in a rush, moved carefully like someone did not want to be noticed. I stopped breathing without realizing it. I told myself it had to be the caretaker or another student, anything normal. Still, the air felt colder, there, thick, like something invisible stood too close. Then I heard it, a whisper. It did not come from far away. It came from behind me, close enough to feel warm against my ear. It did not say words. It said my name. That was the moment I understood something was wrong, because no one else should have been there. And old buildings, I would remember names better than people do. I turned around slowly, my heart beating so hard it hurt. The corridor was empty, no footsteps, no doors closing, just the low hum of the lights and my own breathing, loud and uneven. I laughed quietly to calm myself, but the sound felt raw. It did not belong there. The whisper came again. This time it came from inside classroom 3B. The door was slightly open. I could see darkness inside, broken only by the red glow of the emergency light above the door. I should have walked away. Every instinct told me to leave. Instead, I stepped closer, my hand shaking as I pushed the door open. The room smelled damp, like wet wood and old chalk. Desks sat in neat rows, but one chair at the back was turned the wrong way, facing me. I had not noticed it before, but suddenly, it felt like the only thing in the room. The door closed behind me, not slammed, not violently, just clicked shut, final and calm. I ran to it, twisting the handle, pulling with all my strength. It did not move. Panic rushed through me so fast I felt dizzy. Then the chair scraped across the floor, slow, deliberate. I backed away until my legs hit a desk. My mouth was open, but no sound came out. The red light flickered, and for a second, I was not alone anymore. Someone was sitting in that chair, a boy my age, wearing an old version of our school uniform. His face was pale, his eyes too dark, like they reflected nothing at all. He smiled at me gently, like we were friends. He spoke softly. "I stayed late too," he said, and I realized, with sick certainty, that he never left. I do not remember screaming, but I remember the pain in my throat afterward. The next clear moment was standing outside classroom 3B. The door wide open, the corridor suddenly loud with distant voices. A teacher was shaking my shoulder, asking what I was doing there. The red emergency light was off. The room looked normal, empty. They said I had panicked. They said I imagined it. I nodded, because nodding was easier than explaining what I had seen. I walked home in silence, checking my reflection in every dark window, afraid I might see someone standing behind me. That night, I dreamed of desks arranged differently every time I blinked. I dreamed of chalk writing my name on the board by itself. I woke up soaked in sweat, my ears ringing with whispers I could not understand. The next day at school, everything felt wrong. The corridors seemed narrower, the lights felt dimmer. When I passed classroom 3B, my chest tightened so badly I had to stop. Someone had scratched something into the door. It was faint, almost invisible. A year, 1974. I asked a friend if it had always been there. He looked at me like I was joking. He said the door had never been marked. When I looked again, the scratch was gone. But I started seeing that year everywhere. On desks, on lockers, written lightly in dust on window ledges. Always near me, never near anyone else. During lessons, I felt watched. Empty chairs felt occupied. Sometimes I smelled smoke, sharp and sudden, then gone. When the bell rang, everyone jumped. Except me. I already knew the sound. I searched the school online that night, scrolling through old articles and forgotten forums. Most of it was boring. Sports results, exam scores, renovation plans. Then I found one paragraph that did not belong. It mentioned a fire, 1974, a small classroom fire after hours, minimal damage, one student unaccounted for. The article did not name him. It ended abruptly, as if someone had cut it short on purpose. No follow-up, no explanation. The next day, I noticed teachers watching me more closely. The caretaker lingered in doorways when I passed. When I finally asked him about the fire, his face tightened. He told me to stop asking questions. Then, quietly, he asked if I had heard anything at night. That was when fear turned heavy. The whispers became clearer after that. Not full sentences, just fragments. A laugh, a cough, a soft plea. Always near classroom 3B. Always after sunset. I stopped staying late, but it did not matter. Sometimes I heard them during the day, hidden beneath the noise. One afternoon, I found my notebook open to a page I had not written. My handwriting filled the lines. I stayed late too. I slammed it shut and shoved it into my bag, my hands shaking. When I got home, the page was blank again. That night, I dreamed of fire crawling along the ceiling like something alive. The boy stood in the flames, untouched, watching me. When he smiled, smoke poured from his mouth. I woke up choking. My room smelled like ash. I stopped telling myself I was fine. Sleep avoided me. Food tasted wrong. Every shadow felt too deep. At school, my friends drifted away, unsure what to say, afraid of catching whatever was wrong with me. Teachers suggested stress, anxiety, counseling. No one suggested leaving. The building reacted to me. Now, doors opened before I touched them. Lights flickered only when I entered a room. Once, I heard footsteps matching mine exactly, stopping when I stopped, starting when I moved. I never turned around. I began writing everything down, afraid that if I did not, the memories would change. The whispers followed patterns, strongest near the science block, loudest when the sky was dark, always softer when other people were close. One evening, an old woman stopped me near the canal beside the school. She asked if I was hearing things yet. When I asked what she meant, she sighed like someone tired of waiting. She said the school was built over an older place, where children were locked away for discipline, fear soaked into the ground. Buildings remember what the earth teaches them. She told me the fire was not an accident. It was hungry, she said. The final week, the whispers stopped pretending. They said my name clearly. Now, they asked me to come back, to sit down, to keep someone company. I understood then that the boy was not trapped. He was waiting, and the school was helping him. Because places like that do not want to be empty. They want balance. The last night came without warning. I was asked to help move equipment to storage. I did not want to stay late, but saying no felt impossible, like the choice had already been made for me. The corridors emptied faster than usual. The silence settled in thick layers. Near classroom 3B, the lights went out. The red emergency glow returned, brighter than before. The door stood open. Inside, the desks were gone. Only 2 chairs remained, facing each other. The smell of smoke was strong enough to burn my throat. He was there. The boy looked clearer now, more solid, like he belonged. His uniform was scorched at the edges. His eyes reflected the red light perfectly. He smiled the way someone smiles when they are relieved. He told me the school needed someone to remember it. He said fear kept the walls standing. He said, being alone for so long hurt more than the fire ever did. When he reached for me, the walls seemed to lean inward. The floor vibrated softly, like a breath. I felt myself stepping forward without deciding to. Then alarms screamed. Teachers burst in. Lights flooded the room. The boy vanished like smoke and wind. I collapsed, my legs giving out beneath me. I woke up in a hospital bed. They said I had been found alone in an empty classroom. No fire, no damage, no second chair. Just me's unconscious, clutching my notebook. On the last page, a sentence waited. Stay next time. I left that school soon after. Transfers were arranged. Doctors signed papers. Everyone agreed it was best to move on. They called it recovery. They called it growing up. I learned how easily people accept explanations that make them comfortable. Years passed. Life filled itself with ordinary things. Jobs, relationships, sunlit rooms. For a while, the fear faded into something distant. Like a bad dream, you almost forget. Almost. Sometimes my lights flickered for no reason. Sometimes my phone lost signal in full coverage areas. I saw the year 1974 on receipts, license plates, digital clocks frozen at the wrong moment. I stopped pointing it out. Ashcroft Secondary was demolished when I was 23. People celebrated. They said the place was outdated, unsafe. No one mentioned the fire. No one mentioned the missing student. I told myself that was the end. I was wrong. Last week, I received an email from the council. They plan to rebuild on the site. A new school, modern design, fresh paint. The attached plans showed the layout. Classroom 3B, same position, same shape. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred, knowing exactly what that meant. You can destroy walls. You can replace floors. But you cannot erase what a place has learned to feel. That night, the whisper returned for the first time in years. It did not sound angry. It sounded patient. It said my name, the way someone does when they know you will answer eventually. I did not sleep. I did not turn on the lights. I listened, and I remembered everything. That is why I'm telling this now. Not for sympathy, not for attention. I am telling it because silence feeds things like that. School, forgetting makes them stronger. Belief weakens them, even if only a little. When the new school opens, children will run through its halls without knowing what stood there before. Teachers will talk about safety drills and history lessons that skip the important parts. The building will listen. It always does. If you ever stay late in a school that feels too quiet, leave. Do not answer whispers. Do not open doors that feel wrong. Do not sit down just because a voice sounds lonely. Places remember fear better than people remember facts. I know because part of me never left that classroom. Part of me is still sitting there, facing a boy who smiles too gently, waiting for company. I feel it sometimes, a pull in my chest, like gravity pointing in the wrong direction. Writing this makes my hands shake. My lights are flickering again. My phone signal is fading as I reach the end. Maybe that means I have said too much. Or maybe it means this is working. If you are listening to this story and feel uncomfortable, good. That feeling might save you one day. Fear is not always the enemy. Sometimes it is a warning spoken in a language older than words. Remember this. Buildings do not want ghosts. They want replacements. And if you hear your name whispered in an empty corridor, do not be polite. Run. Because some lessons are paid for with time, and some are paid for forever.